Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rahr-West Art Museum virtually. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We've got a very special program for you. I'm Greg Vadney, the director of the Rahr-West. And we're going to be talking about artist Judith Roth. And it's interesting. We're also going to talk a lot about the Kohler Foundation. And for me, being the director here at the Rahr-West Art Museum, I have the opportunity to and really to see and to know a little bit about what the Kohler Foundation does, not only for our museum, for museums and for art all around the state of Wisconsin and beyond. We're fortunate enough today to have the art preservation manager at the Kohler Foundation, Liesl Testweed, to speak with us. If you didn't know, the Rahr-West is open to the public once again, and for a short time you will be able to see some of the artwork from the artists that we've talked about tonight. We also have some new exhibits that are upcoming. I want you to stop by if you can and check out the Portrait of Manitowoc project, which begins this Sunday. And then a week from Sunday, on March the 7th, we open the special Friends of the Rahr-West Art Museum curated exhibit for the love of eggs. So a lot about egg coloring and ornamentation and decoration. So you'll want to tune in for that. But you're tuning in tonight to listen to Liesl and hear a little bit about Judith Roth. Liesl Testweed is a Sheboygan native, graduate of UW-Madison, and has a master's degree from Marquette. She returned to Sheboygan in the 1990s, raises her family there. She's the mother of 3 sons. And we're so happy to have her. She is the art preservation manager at the Kohler Foundation. And she's going to talk a little bit about Judith Roth and a little bit about the Kohler Foundation and how these two things dovetail for, to allow for institutions like the Rahr-West to be able to bring in to our collection some wonderful, wonderful art that has some Wisconsin connections. So I'll throw it over to you, Liesl. Thanks again for joining us. And if anybody has any comments, any questions during the course of this talk, you make sure that you put them on our Facebook page. If you're watching on the YouTube page, you can put your questions there. And we'll reach out after Liesl's presentation for a little Q&A. So Liesl, thank you again for joining us this evening, and I throw it over to you.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks, Diana. Also, I want to thank Rahr-West for such a warm welcome. I'm thrilled to be invited to talk to you a little bit about Kohler Foundation. And my first slide, I don't want it to scare you off. It looks a little business-like, but we're going to have a good time tonight. So hopefully you have a wine or a little snack next to you, and we'll take a little ride here and look at some art. So I want to tell you a little bit about Kohler Foundation. This is the Kohler Family's Foundation. And we focus on 5 different areas: grants, scholarships, the Distinguished Guest Performing Arts Series. Maybe you've been to a performance. And then the Balder House. Hopefully you have visited there. And then the 5th component of the Kohler Foundation, and one that a lot of people don't know about, is art preservation. So I want to talk about that with you today, because art preservation is broken into 2 different categories. First of all, there's something called art environments, and then art collections. So later we're going to talk about the Judith Roth collection, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about some of our largest projects at Kohler Foundation, which are preserving art environments by self-taught artists. Someone say, what is an art environment? So I want to spend some time talking about what an art environment is. And I also want to reiterate the fact that we usually focus on self-taught artists, artists who've had no formal training. And to segue, I want to say, if you get a chance, go on the Art Preserve website and book yourself a little time slot there and go down and see the new building. This is owned by the John Michael Kohler Art Center, not us, not the foundation, but a lot of art that is in the Art Preserve will have been given to John Michael Kohler Art Center from the foundation. So make sure you check that out. Okay, let's get started here. So an art environment is an environment created by an artist, wherever he might be. This is one of the first ones in Wisconsin. Maybe you've been there. It's at Phillips, Wisconsin. And Fred Smith is what we call an art environment builder. He was a logger and a farmer. And as he grew older and had to give up logging, he started making sculptures. And eventually he created 200 sculptures on his homestead. And he named it Wisconsin Concrete Park. And the sculptures have wooden armatures, and they're wrapped with mink wire and then layered with hand-mixed cement and decorated with broken glass. After his death, the Kohler Foundation purchased the park, and then we brought in conservators who preserved the works, replaced broken glass or any concrete work that needed to be done, and then donated it to Price County for its long-term care for the public to enjoy. So that's one example of an art environment. Another big project that Kohler Foundation did was the renovation or preservation of Pasquan it's pronounced, I'm going to say it wrong, Buena Vista, Georgia. I said it correctly, Buena Vista, Georgia. So Pasquan, this gorgeous site here, was the home of artist Eddie Owens Martin, who's also known as Saint Eom, and it's located in western Georgia. Saint Eom, he had absolutely no formal art training, but he created this large art environment which consists of 6 structures and 900 feet of painted masonry fencing. And the site, due to the elements in western Georgia, the site had faded and was in disrepair. The Kohler Foundation came in and preserved this site. It's over 7 acres. And we brought in the wonderful expertise of 2 different conservation companies, Parma Conservation out of Chicago and International Artifacts out of Houston. And this is a bucket list place to go to see this. But if you also go to Columbus State University's website, you can get an interior tour as well. So Kohler Foundation, once the preservation work was done, we gave it to Columbus State University, and now they are the stewards of the site and will provide the ongoing care. I mean, it is stunning and vibrant, gorgeous on a sunny day, just lovely. So that's something to check out. Another different art environment that Kohler Foundation has redone is called S.P. Dinsmore's Garden of Eden. This is in Lucasville, Kansas. Again, this was created by a man who had no artistic training. Dinsmore was actually a Civil War veteran and a farmer. And if you look closely, you may get the sense that it's a log cabin. And that's what he wanted you to think it was. But actually, this home is made out of cement and limestone that he carved to look like a log cabin. And then he also created about 150 surrounding statues. So the site attracts over 10,000 visitors each year. Another bucket list item for road trippers out there, the Garden of Eden. Here's I wanted to show you a little before and after when we do preservation work. In this case, this was International Artifacts. They came in and they do a great job. We worked with them on several projects. They get up on the scaffolding, windy conditions, and they really make a site, bring it back to its pristine look. So one of our current projects is MT Liggett in Mullinsville, Kansas. We're preserving the work of and the legacy of MT Liggett. Was a gentleman who was not an artist as well, but on his farm, he created over 600 metal totems and whirligigs. And this is located in the middle of Kansas. It's about 15 miles outside of Dodge City. It's on Highway 400. So a lot of people who are driving by on their way to Dodge City will pull over, take pictures. Most of these totems, if we would look close up, are politically charged. MT Liggett liked to poke people. He liked to lampoon local, state, and national figures like Ted Kennedy, the Bushes, Margaret Thatcher. He made fun of the local mayor, the congressman. If you got on his bad side, you might get a totem made with your name on it. No one was immune from MT Liggett's barbs, that's for sure. We've also constructed a visitor site for programming and education so that school groups can come and really understand, get an idea of what an art environment is. Here's another look at it from another angle. If you look closely, there's Jayhawk, Kansas, but different names of people he knew in his life. He would make a heart for you, but I don't know, if you fell and disregard with him, then your heart might come down, might be laying on the ground. But there's 600 of these totems, and again, international artifacts came from Houston and have basically lived on site for the last 2 years to get this up and running. Their grand opening will be this summer. Here's a little shot of the visitor center. And if you talk to conservators or my colleague Beth Wiesa, who spent a lot of time there, you want to wear boots, a lot of snakes in the area. Not a glamorous job, but we're excited to do it. This is our next project. This is Itasca Rock Garden, and it's located in Albert Lea, Minnesota. And we'll be preserving this site, and this is made by another retired farmer named John Christensen. His farming days were over, and he just started creating. International Artifacts is going to come in, starting in July. We had to remove all the vegetation around it to see the true condition of the site. It was covered in vegetation and greens. These pictures were taken in early December before the snow, and we expect this project to take about a year. Here's another view of it. There was water running here. There were Waterfalls Bridge. This was a place that a lot of local residents would go to have their maybe prom pictures taken, wedding photos. It truly is beloved by the community. And once we are finished with it, we will be giving the site to Freeborn County Historical Society, and they will become the long-term stewards of the site. Now, when our conservators do the work on site, they often refer to vintage photos or old photos. In this case, here's a postcard of what the site would have looked like in its heyday. I don't know if we're going to be putting water back in. That's probably an insurance issue. But you can see the beauty and the glory of this site, and we will return it to that once the stonework is finished and it's re-landscaped. It'll be another great spot. That's a 5-hour drive from Sheboygan, and it's very close to a winery. So, if you're looking for a weekend road trip from Manitowoc, it might be a great place to check out in a year from now. So the other side of our focus in art preservation are the collections. And so I want to talk a little bit about collections here at Kohler Foundation. Kohler Foundation does not keep we do not keep a permanent collection of art. We work closely with families or with artists or their families if an artist is deceased, and they come to us and they to help them preserve their legacy. And we help by providing conservation on all the artworks and by placing it with museums and universities and other not-for-profits. So we have various collections come through our doors, and they're with us for a short time. We get them preserved and then placed with museums. So that takes, when we're not on site at art environments, we're working with collections. We've placed a wide variety of artist collections, and in this case, both self-taught and formally trained artists. And we have some from Wisconsin. Here's John Colt. John Colt taught at UWM, and we've placed a lot of his work throughout the state, different universities and museums. We're currently also working with the Janice Lowry collection. Janice Lowry is a California artist, passed away in 2009. So in this case, even with COVID going on, we were able to keep this project moving forward and have the artwork sent to us And now we're working to place that with a lot of regional museums on the West Coast. And there's another artist, the William S. Dudler collection. He's a Maryland native who then worked in New York. So this kind of gives you an idea of the wide variety of collections that we see. Self-taught, formally trained, from Wisconsin, from California, from New York. You know, we have a little of everything. So it's exciting, and it's exciting to help families ensure the legacy of their loved one, or it's wonderful to help artists realize their dream. They know that works will be in a museum on display for the public to see. It's one of the focuses of Kohler Foundation is we love getting things out of private collections and into the world at museums and universities and other not-for-profits. So here we are, there she is, the belle of the ball, Judith Roth, why we're all here today. So the Judith Roth project came to us from Bruce Pepich, who is the director of Racine's Art Museum. He was a friend of Judith Roth, and we also had another recommendation, another friend of hers. The art world is small, and they came to us and they said, you're going to love this collection, and we went down to Chicago, and we certainly did. So Judith Roth, here she is at a young age. She's a Boston native, and she was originally Judith Schumann, and she moved to Chicago suburbs when she married her husband, who is a doctor from Illinois. And together they had two beautiful daughters, Naomi, who lives in Rhode Island, and Shoshana, who lives in Israel. And this collection was about 500 pieces, paintings, drawings, sketchbooks, and then quite a lot of archives. She was a meticulous note taker. So like I said, Roth was an East Coaster. She was a native of Boston and graduated from the Boston Museum School on a scholarship. And she received a Bachelor in Fine Arts from Tufts University. And she was also awarded a scholarship to the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture in Maine, which is a very prestigious prize. So like I said, she was entrenched in the East Coast, and then she fell in love. She fell in love with her husband, David, who was in school to become a physician, and he is the reason why she moved to Illinois. And here's this great drawing. And each of these panels are 42 by 60 inches. This is one of my favorites. So overall, it's about 10 feet long. And she writes in the corner, "But honey, you'll really like it in Villa Park." And so after art school, Judith Schumann became Judith Roth and moved to the suburbs of Chicago. So Judith Roth says about her work, "I'm involved with the precarious balancing of realistic and abstract expression. When successful, they intensify each other." So just wanted to share that with you as we move forward. And I want to now show you the pieces that from the Roth collection are now at Rahr-West. This is an untitled pastel on paper. A little bit of hints of androgyny there. Beautiful piece. This did receive some conservation. It went down to Parma and Chicago before coming home to Rahr-West. This next piece, this is Oil on Board, was also taken down to Chicago. This one, if you look closely at the top, it says J. Schumann Roth. So here she was. This was a time where she was hyphenating her name. Eventually, she only signed her pieces Judith Roth or J. Roth, but there was a moment in time where she was hyphenating. So this was earlier on. And, there's no date here, but we know that from looking at that signature up there. There was paint loss, and it needed a really good cleaning. So this was spent a couple months down at Parma in Chicago, and it looks wonderful now. This piece, Linda, oil crayon on paper. We received, oh boy, I think almost 300 drawings from the Roth collection. And with her drawings, we received her massive flat file. And so we were able to we donated the flat file to the art department at Marian University in Fond du Lac, and it was brimming full with drawings for them. And the Roth's family was just thrilled to have so much of her work going to a teaching institution. And that was a lot of fun to deliver some of her work there, and then a lot of drawings and sketchbooks as well. And voila, here's the piece de resistance, the apple. It's a very large painting done in 1979. Now it's just J. Roth down here as her signature. This is 5 feet by 4 feet, a very large piece, a great work. And when Diana came to the warehouse, she spotted it and she loved it right off the bat. And we're excited it's now at Rahr-West. When I was doing some research on Judith Roth, I found this photo, which I think is fun. There she is. There's Judith Roth in her studio. And there's the painting, the apple. So clearly a beloved piece by her. That was kind of fun. Wanted to show you that. So earlier I said that Judith Roth had 2 daughters. It's true. And they were very involved in the performing arts. They were 2 dancers, and Roth spent a lot of time at dance studios, watching her daughters. They were a family that loved the performing arts. As a result, a lot of Judith Roth's subject matter has to do with dance. There's a couple examples here. And again, more dancers. Judith Roth painted a very diverse group of people, which has been great because we've been able to give a lot of wonderful art away of hers to a multitude of universities throughout Illinois and museums, and in Wisconsin as well. But if you're a parent, you know that if your child is in dance class, you spend a lot of time waiting for them to finish with dance class, right? I don't know if anyone, I mean, I know my mom had to wait at ballet for me to be finished. So Judith Roth also tended to paint a lot of subjects who are waiting and sitting and waiting. And I love these. These 2 women are behind me looking over my shoulders right now. So there's a lot of subjects sitting and waiting, and we were told by her daughter that that was inspired by the hours she spent at the dance studio waiting for her own daughters. If you look closely at the paintings, you'll see that Roth really celebrated anatomical complexities. Hands, the feet, the back. And I thought I would just take a couple seconds to point a couple of those out to you. If you look closely at this great drawing here, you can see the lines on, I don't know if you're able to see that my cursor, I'm not sure. You can see the lines on the neck. You can see the veins in her hand, both hands. Real attention there to the anatomical, as they say, complexities. You know, where her wrist bends around the back of the chair. Incredible attention to detail here. And going through a lot of Roth's drawings, we noticed that a lot of times she'll just take a midsection of a person and focus on the hands, the feet, something, not always the face. Here's another superb example of her attention to detail, the veins in the hands. If you look at the crook of her arm, this woman's left arm, perhaps crepey skin. And these are things we don't like to talk about or acknowledge, but they're there underneath the surface, and she sure captured it. You know, the loose skin hanging down here in her forearm. It's stunning. The attention to detail it's really worth noting and taking a moment to savor here. And you know, and you look at these, Judith Roth didn't choose subjects with, you know, the best bodies to paint. She chose everyday people in everyday situations. I mean, we have a dancer, again, great. Another midsection with that attention to these anatomical complexities. The loose skin on the back of the arms, the knuckles, the wrist, great examples. Here are a few more. Love these. She takes this one, this middle one, just focuses on the ear. You look real closely. Some stubble, but the ear is what, you know, what takes her time up here, gives it a real attention. The one on the left, I mean, this is just the shadowing, the shadows. These, again, anatomical complexities. The back, just beautiful. Beautiful work. Here's one more here with her feet. Great attention to detail there. I mean, you know, there's a true anatomical complexity, the bottom of the foot. And Judith Roth makes it appealing and interesting and lovely. You want to, you know, spend more time looking at the bottom of a foot. What talent. And here she is again in her studio in Chicago. Her husband died at a pretty young age, and Judith sold her home in the North Shore suburbs and got herself a condo, a loft in a old warehouse that was converted into condos, and lived the dream. She created and created and created. And she got very involved in the Chicago art community. And when she died, she was known as a leader in the Chicago art community. She served as president of the Chicago Women's Art Caucus for 5 years, where she worked really hard to push for new opportunities for women in performing arts across the nation. So her time as leader of the Chicago Women's Art Caucus was really important to her to pave the way for other women. And interestingly, she's also the founder of the widely acclaimed Ravenswood Art Walk, which is in Chicago, and it's now in its 20th year. And Ravenswood is a neighborhood and where a lot of artists live, and she created this walk for people to come to the area and go from studio to studio to studio so that people could be exposed to artists they had never heard of before, and really get publicity out and help artists reach interested, perhaps buyers. And about 10,000 people still attend Ravenswood Art Walk annually. Another road trip idea for you this summer. It's usually in August. Obviously canceled last year due to COVID, but hopefully we'll be out looking at art this summer. Judith Roth also taught. She gave of her time tremendously. She taught at the Art Institute of Chicago. She also taught at Columbia College in Chicago and the North Shore Art League. And this is really exciting for the foundation because Judith Roth was such a prominent figure in Chicago. We were able to place her archives with Loyola University's Women and Leadership Archive, which was a really big honor for her and for us. So I'm stopping sharing my screen there. There. So that is my presentation on Judith Roth, and I'd love to take some questions. I got the two ladies looking over my shoulders to make sure I behave here. So if anyone has any questions, I'd love to try and answer them if I can.
We don't have any questions in the chat box yet, so if you have any, please just put them in either in Facebook or YouTube, and we'll be able to see them. I had a question, just a comment. I remember when I came down to the warehouse to look at all the drawings, and I had to stop looking at them because they're all so engrossing, and I wanted all of them for our collection, and we just don't have space for that. But I love her feet. I don't know. Greg, we might have to get another foot.
You're saying I'm sorry, I'm a little dark right now. It gets a little bit later and my lighting isn't the best over here, but through the shadows, I would I would say. One thing I didn't talk about in introducing is to tell the audience that this artwork is brand new to us. So this is really the first time we've had it out, and it is something that obviously we want, and we want to give the audience an opportunity to see. So you will see Judith Roth's artwork out during the course of this year. But yes, I'm not going to commit in public to saying we're going to bring more into the collection, but it is it's an amazing thing to have an organization like the Kohler Foundation that, I mean, if you come through the museum, you will see multiple things that were gifts of the Kohler Foundation. And they do a wonderful job of making sure that institutions throughout our state have opportunities to showcase some of these wonderful artists. And it's also a great opportunity for artists and artist families. And I guess that kind of led me to ask you, Lisa, if I can ask a question. You know, what are the kind of the qualifying factors of artists like what makes the Kohler Foundation work with an artist or an artist family or a group like that?
That's a great question. I think, you know, one of the biggest things is we want to be able to place the work. We want to make sure that if you give us this collection, that we are going to find homes for it. So we often will reach out to experts in the field, and they'll tell us, give us some ideas as to where we could place those pieces. And when the feedback is positive, you know, then we can go ahead. We also love projects where this might scare other organizations off, where there's a lot of preservation work to be done. We love that. One of Judith Roth's paintings was in the Art Gallery in Chicago, and they had water damage. And so probably a whole foot, and it was a big one like the apple, had severe water damage to the bottom of it, and we had to take that in. And so we love projects like that where, you know, we can add value to the art where, you know, it might otherwise sit there. You know, not that we're rescuing it, but we're getting it out so it can be, you know, shown again. So, and I would say that, you know, we used to focus on artists just in Wisconsin and Illinois, but now we are, you know, branching out. So when I showed that slide about Janice Lowry's work is really attractive to regional California museums. Not as much here because the museums here do not have that connection with her. She's not a Wisconsin resident, didn't teach here, didn't go to school here. So there's different factors, and that might have scared Kohler Foundation off a few years ago, but we've grown so much that, you know, now we're working with artists across the country.
Liesl, I think you said that a collection of Judith Roth's drawings was it in Fond du Lac?
Right. So Marian University came and they picked. We gave them a Judith Roth flat file that was in her studio, and with a lot of her drawings in it. So it could be at used in the art department as teaching tools. Along with, we also received from the family many of her sketchbooks. And so a lot of those sketchbooks went along with that. So students could see, Judith Roth believed strongly that the foundation of good art was good drawing. And in order to become great at drawing, she had to do it every day. And so in going through her belongings, her archives, she drew on everything, calendars, receipts. There's one drawing she had, and I meant to throw it in this presentation, where she's got a beautiful drawing, and then on top of it, she wrote down a salad dressing recipe. Like, she might have been on the phone with a friend and it said, how do you make that dressing again? And her counter was filled with artwork, and she just wrote it right on the drawing, which was kind of funny. So being able to show the process to the students is really exciting. You know, here's this sketch in the sketchbook, here's the drawing, and now here's the painting, and encouraging them to continue, those drills, those everyday, practicing those skills every day is great.
Yeah. What other organizations in Wisconsin have taken her work so far?
You're going to ask me that. Let's see. I don't know about Wisconsin. I'm not sharing my screen right now. No, I'm not, right? So I can go in here and look. I can look. There's some great ones. Miller in Sturgeon Bay. They have a collection of Judith Roth. Let's see, Peoria. Well, that's Peoria in Illinois. Racine Art Museum has a collection. University of Wisconsin Green Bay took maybe 4 pieces. DePaul University got a couple pieces at Northwestern. Loyola, Illinois State. So a nice variety of museums and universities. And then it was also important to the family that we give some of her work to some nonprofit dance studios. So there's a few Hubbard Street Dance and Gus Legacy Dance Studio. Both of those in Chicago have some Judith Roth works as well.
That's great.
That's really fun to deliver too. There's different.
And actually, I do have to mention there was something extremely meaningful to me as a dance parent in some of the paintings that you showed. The sitting and waiting are so on point. I didn't even mean to say on point, but there you go. There's a little dance for you. They were absolutely brings back memories. Now, obviously, right now it's all curbside drop off and pick up and temperature checks and all that. But boy, before that, you'd have everybody kind of sitting down like you're at a bus stop, waiting for the girls to change out of their shoes and get ready to take them home. So there's I think for me definitely, and I think for a lot of people who've had that experience, something that really hits home in those paintings.
Well, and it shows the compulsion, to be sitting there waiting, and the need to be drawing, the need to find inspiration from whatever around you, to start on the back of the receipt or the calendar that's in your handbag to the sketchbook to the, she just never stopped, and which is exciting, I think. It's a little insight into how her brain worked. She never turned that off.
Well, I haven't had any questions pop up. I did get a comment from Mike Calla, who's actually a member on our foundation board. This is really interesting. Mike's wife, Kathy's very involved in the museum too, and she fell in love with the drawing Linda. And that's actually why it ended up being one of them that came to our collection.
Good. It is beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful lines. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks for coming. Greg, did you want to wrap us up here?
I can definitely wrap us up. Again, just like Diana had said, thank you so much, Liesl, for coming out tonight and sharing so much information about the foundation and about Judith Roth. But also thank you and the foundation so much for all the work that you do. To our audience, thank you for being a part of this. We hope that in these times, as we hopefully start to open more and more up, you'll come and visit us. Like I had said at the beginning, if you can, stop on out beginning on this Sunday. You'll be able to see the Manitowoc Portrait Project. And then next Sunday on March the 7th, we open up for the Love of Eggs. And that's when we really start opening up our galleries again and kicking things off like a normal year. So please stop by. We also will be having youth art beginning in April, and we have a full slate this summer. God willing, we'll be able to open up the doors for events and more programming. Keep in touch with us through our Facebook page, through the website, rahrwestartmuseum.org. And we look forward to seeing you again really soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.